Big headline screaming out of the Daily Mail today. Education Secretary to announce dramatic intervention to the relief of millions of parents of teachers. And Dundee, so what we're talking about here is the banning of mobile phones from classrooms. And they think the Education Secretary is going to announce this today. Now, I thought I'd heard this ban. I thought, and it's going to be a governmental thing as opposed to schools deciding on this.
Yeah, absolutely. There are many schools around the country that already do this independently. It's their decision, excuse me, and they take our pupils' phones off them as they go in, put them in little lockers. It works. But now this is, by the sounds of it, they are going to announce, Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, as you said, announce that this is going to be a policy, and they will order schools to outlaw smartphones during lessons and also in breaks to end disruption and make it easier for pupils to focus. Because if they need to access the internet during lessons, they can be supplied with laptops and iPads in the lessons. Why do they need their phones? Well,
a lot of parents are going to say little Jimmy needs his phone because he misses his mummy and he's wet his pants and he needs to speak to his mummy.
I don't know. A single parent will say that.
Well, that's the defence.
Celebrate and cheer, and I just think, as a mum, they should not be in schools. I think this is wonderful. I think what took them so long.
I think, you know, I'm not a parent, but I would be inclined to agree. They're allowed to have their phones on the way to school, on the way home from school, obviously for safety reasons. But when they get into school, they are taken off them, stored in a locker, then the children can concentrate. And you know what, Isabel, as well? It will also improve their social skills. Yeah. So the fact that they talk, you know, during playtime, they talk to one another rather than staring at a phone.
Running around, getting us...
Well, I wonder, is this just going to be talk, or is this actually going to happen? It won't happen because the Conservatives won't be elected next year and nothing will happen about it. It won't come into play. But it should cross party divides, that one, I would have thought, as well.
Well, I mean, yeah, we don't know what Labour's position is on this one because I don't think they've said anything about it yet. But, I mean, it's one of the things that does make sense and is achievable, unlike a lot of the things that we are going to hear for the next year in the run-up to a general election. We're all going to go, yeah, right, believe it when I see it.
One of my brothers sent me a video last night of my mother talking to me, and my late mother talking to me, and she's sitting there talking and said, what I would do is the five of you, when you come into this house, that's me and my four brothers, that I would make you leave all your mobile phones in the front hall. Yeah. Because then, you see, instead of looking at those blooming things, whatever, so everybody's guilty of it, Chris.
Yes, no, exactly. So, I mean, for us too, then, maybe us adults need to think about putting our phones down a little bit more during the day so that we can interact and get on with social mores, etc., etc. So, you can't argue the points that have already been made.
Question. Is Gillian Keegan also one of these many Conservative Party females?
I think she probably
trying
is,
to get the headlines this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next few days, because she's quite like Rishi Sunak.
They're all coming out with these statements. Everyone's going to go, that's a really good idea. That sounds really good. Because Rishi Sunak, I mean, you asked Jeremy Hunt in the previous hour as to whether this would be Rishi's first and last conference as leader, and Jeremy Hunt very loyally said no. But pretty much everyone else in the Tory party is going, I want that job.
Well, here, does that job require you to have your sleeves rolled up? Because this really irritates me, because I sort of think, does Sunak think we're also stupid that if he rolls up his sleeves, which he does a lot, that it looks as if I'm at the job? And they use these phrases like, if I hear again, HS2, well, there's spades in the ground, whatever the hell that means. But, you know, it's just like, yeah, the spades in the ground, but you're going to take your spades out of the ground again. And these moronic statements and actions. Have you noticed them with the sleeves?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Well, what difference does it make me if my Prime Minister has his sleeves rolled up or not?
Well, I think a picture paints 1,000 words, and he is trying to say, I'm not the wealthy man, suited and booted, whose only interest is corporate interests and financiers. I'm also your fella who knows what it's like to get a little bit of mud under my fingers.
Hold on. This is the bloke who wore 500 quid pair of shoes around a building site.
No. So he's tried to get away from that 500 quid pair of shoes around a building site.
To be fair, all the politicians in recent years have been doing this. I mean, think back to Tony Blair. I can remember seeing Cameron with the sleeves rolled up.
But only when they were in hospitals.
Well, no,
only when they're in hospitals.
I mean, look, Cameron was hug a hoodie, wasn't it? Hug a hoodie?
Hug a hoodie,
yeah. So,
But it is... I mean,
images.
but you say the image, so am I supposed to believe he's got sweat on his brow today by rolling his sleeves up? It's,
Eamonn,
it's ridiculous.
You're not putting in a shift because you've got your jacket and tie on and your sleeves are
Would it make a difference how you perceive me if I sat here with my sleeves rolled up?
Yeah, I think you're a bit scruffy.
But you see...
what he's saying is, I'm out of the boardroom and I'm on the ballroom.
Yeah.
I'm dancing
Optics.
I'm dancing with the normal Joe.
Yeah.
Does anyone buy it? That's the question. Should we talk about... Go on.
There's a clip that's gone viral.
Yeah.
The old Sacha Lord clip that's gone viral.
Right, so who is Sacha Lord?
So Sacha Lord is very high up in the events industry, and his big complaint is that through the pandemic, the events industry was left hung out to dry, didn't get any of the money, any of the furlough, and Mr. Sunak was caught on video answering a question about, if you don't support all these guys, freelancers, they won't vote for you. And he said, well, they don't vote for us anyway. And so Sacha Lord has turned that around to say, right, so that means actually he didn't care about the loss of life, loss of families, etc. And he's now got it on some sort of electronic billboard right above Conservative Party headquarters. I'm not quite sure if we're going to show the clip.
Let me just see, have we got this clip?
That's a clip that's gone viral. It's all over the...
Right, let's run the clip. Here we go. Right.
So this is the advert, then, that Sacha Lord has taken out. He's the chair of the nighttime industry. He's outspoken throughout the pandemic when all of the nightclubs and bars and restaurants were all closed.
Absolutely.
And he's very much sticking up for the freelancer. And this is actually a video that's playing on a loop over the event space.
Yes, exactly. That's quite still.
The largest digital screen in the city centre, which is directly above the Tory conference, on loop for the entire duration of the conference. During the pandemic, we witnessed the complete and utter decimation of the events industry. Freelancers are left with no financial support whatsoever. I witnessed families break up, marriages dissolve, houses repossessed. I also know of 2 people who took their own lives. They simply could not live, riddled with so much debt.
Well, this is a very serious point here, because there is no doubt whatsoever, Dom, that this government or any government that follows, or particularly HMRC, want a freelance industry in any field. They don't want freelance doctors, nurses, school teachers, gardeners, window cleaners, journalists, you name it, they do not want it. The whole thing is they want everybody. For instance, we can only work for this channel if we go staff. Now, I don't know how you can be staff and work at 7 other freelance jobs for which you don't get any benefit for, but the whole thing is they have this policy introduced by George Osborne, which is called IR35, which is if you repeat work anywhere as a freelance, they will classify you and take you to court, as they've done with me, to say that you're freelance, even though you get absolutely no shares, holiday pay, sick leave. It goes on and on and on, but they still take the money from you, so you're hit doubly by this, and they take the extra national insurance off you. So they are no friend of freelance. The whole system is going to be gauged towards no cash in society, so that they can follow what everybody buys and spends.
Absolutely.
Digital currency, they can. Not only can they follow everything, but they can also ensure that if you don't spend it, you've lost it, so use it or lose it. And they can also put situations in place where if you are not towing the party line or congruent with a great social involvement, you also lose some of your benefits. And
they will tax you at source, basically. They don't want to wait for your declaration to come in a year later, 2 years later, as to what you earned in a certain year. They want the tax up front. They want it now, boom, because the country's broke.
I mean, Sacha Lord, the clip we've just seen, Sacha Lord, who is our, by the way, nighttime economy advisor of Greater Manchester. So, and you know, the 3.8 million lives ignored, freelancers. We didn't get any support or help. I'm saying me because I'm a freelancer during the pandemic, and he also, and I know someone in this situation as well. He knows of 2 people that actually took their own lives because their businesses failed, their marriages failed, etc. So it's not just a case of tracking us and sort of like making as much money tax-wise from us. It is also not caring to the extent that, you know, you throw people under the bus, literally, so lives are lost. And so it's a very valid point, and, you know, it is a bit of fun having it right over the conference centre, but, you know, 3.8 million people were ignored during the pandemic.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, the people are complaining the fact that every household is £12,000 worse off because of the furlough scheme, because of a lot of the things that were put into place to support people through the pandemic. So the government can't win if they do support people, and can't win, obviously, if they don't support people like, seems to be on this panel, who were self-employed and freelancers. I didn't get a penny either through the last pandemic.
Terrible.
Okay.
Can we talk about the Russian cyber attack on the royal website?
And did anybody notice?
Yeah.
Did anybody notice there is a royal website, and if it was down, how did it affect your life?
You can't buy tickets or something.
Well,
to the
this
palace
is the thing. It's the front page of the Sun today, and royal stories obviously do sell for the Sun. We know that. That's why they've done it. This is the website which was brought down by pro-Putin hacktivist group called Killnet, and they brought down the royal.com website for 90 minutes. Now, the big question is, royal.uk website. Did anyone notice? Does anyone actually care? Personally, no.
Well, yes, because it's worrying if this website, which next? And, we know why they've done it, because King Charles made a comment in favour of Ukraine. And you just think, right, well, is this a warning shot? And, what next?
Well, if we are seriously naive enough to think that, this doesn't go on a daily basis with websites, with the phones we use, with a lot of the smart gadgets we use, then we're pretty dim, to be honest with you. I mean, it wasn't just Charles in France talking about back in Ukraine. He also hosted Zelensky at Buckingham Palace. William went to the Ukraine border. Edward as sort of like back NATO. So it's very public. I mean, even down to the fact that Kate walking around carrying blue and yellow flowers.
OK. Now, we showed you this very appetising plate of a...
what was it?
Well, it was boiled potatoes and meatballs, basically. And this was a hospital in Hertfordshire. The dinner was advertised as pork and apple sauce to the patient.
Was it? Does not look like that.
Anyway, we've got the picture of what it was, and there it is.
Pork and apple sauce? It's not what I was brought up on, let me tell you.
I guess pork balls, I guess it is, and apple sauce.
No, that's the meatball. It's difficult to sell. There are so many great pictures involved in this story, and none of them resemble food in any way, shape or form. I think that's the meatballs rather than... It's difficult to tell.
Well, whatever it is.
It doesn't look palatable. It's obviously not aesthetically pleasing, doesn't look palatable. And, I guess you've got to be quite desperate if you want to eat it. But I don't know if you've ever been in a scenario where you are so ravished that it doesn't matter what it is, you eat it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what they're going to now. The hospital is saying, we want to get to a state where you are so ravished and hungry that you're not going to look at what we put on the
point
plate.
of this story, this is all hospital food, and there's been this sort of survey done, basically, is a state of hospital food laid bare, ranked every trust. Harrogate and District Foundation Trust scored the lowest with an approval rating of just 71%. And some of the food on there is literally disgusting. The one time you need healthy, nutritious food to build your strength up.
But that may not look right, but it's not unhealthy. It's boiled potatoes.
There's no vegetables. Fibre day
it's sugar.
Away.
It's all sugar, isn't it?
Potatoes aren't good for you
and that glazing, saucy thing is just sugar.
Also, meatballs, it's processed meat.
There's
nothing healthy about that. So can I just say, if you're listening on the radio, effectively we're just showing an array of dogs' dinners that you would not want to eat whether you were well or sick. And if you're sick...
Let me play devil's advocate. It's not a hotel, is it?